guys, if you're new to Deception Bytes, hit the like and subscribe button and be sure to hit the bell to be notified of future videos. If you wish to support the channel, the links are in the description below. Now, fasten your seatbelt. Here we go. Hey guys, it is Thursday, December 27th, and it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope everyone is doing well. I have heard from the grapevine that tomorrow is supposed to be the 28th, and I've also heard that it will be Friday. So I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, there's no Q post today anyway. So I did just check a couple minutes ago and there were none. So what we're going to do is we're going to get right into the Q related news. And we're going to head over there now. Alrighty. Anyway, let's take a look at this. And it says Trump did not expose a covert SEAL team in Iraq, say Special Forces vets. Let's have a read. It's the latest outrage fail over a week of outrage, including Trump's announcing the pullout of all American forces from Syria, a major reduction of troops from Afghanistan, eventually leading to a full withdrawal, and his telling a 7-year-old that belief in Santa is marginal at that age. During Trump's Wednesday surprise Christmas visit to the U.S. troops in Iraq, he posed for a photo op with a Navy SEAL team deployed to Iraq, and after flying out of Baghdad, posted the video to Twitter. Yet the video was uploaded before the SEAL team members' faces could be blurred out to protect their identities according to protocol. And here is the tweet. At FLOTUS, Melania and I were honored to visit our incredible troops at Al-Assad Air Base in Iraq. God bless the USA. This immediately prompted howls and headlines that Trump exposed covert and classified ops from pundits and the media. However, a number of military and special forces experts, including some members of American Special Forces themselves, quickly pointed out this was hugely exaggerated given the SEAL Team 5, the unit Trump posed with while they wore full combat gear and night vision goggles, is a white unit, meaning not classified, whose deployment with Combined Joint Special Operations Task Force Iraq is public knowledge. Now, I know that you have noticed it just as I have. I mean, Trump can't do anything right over Christmas. They are pulling out all stops. He was on the phone. Him and Melania were talking to children at the White House. The press was there, and apparently he said to a 7-year-old, do you still believe in Santa? The boy probably answered no, or I don't know, because he said, well, I guess belief in Santa at that age is marginal. So we only had his side of the conversation. We didn't hear what the little boy said to prompt him saying that. But of course, the press, had to do what they're so good at doing. And this was another instance where they called him out because they said he had exposed this covert SEAL team, but the team was not covert. They're not undercover. They're white, so meaning not undercover. So he didn't do anything wrong. And really, they don't give him any credit. He's not that stupid. He would never put American lives in danger. He just wouldn't. I think that he's probably more careful about that than any other president that's gone before him. But hey, what do I know? And maybe some of you military people may feel differently, and that's okay. If you disagree, please let me know why, because I appreciate it when those of you that are military or former military chime in on some of these subjects, because like I've said before, I don't have any military background. I don't have family in the military. I have my niece married a military person, but that's the closest military, I've got. So anyway, I appreciate it when you guys chime in and let me know if I'm right or wrong, because, I wouldn't know otherwise. Anyway, let's go back and see what else. And, of course, we have this, the CNN meltdown over the MAGA hats. Oh, my gosh. Ridiculous. Not only did President Donald Trump visit with troops abroad during Christmas time, despite media claims to the contrary. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. The media said, oh, he's the first president since 2002 that hasn't visited the troops on Christmas. Ah, wow. And then, of course, he just didn't let everybody know where he was going. That's pretty wise, if you ask me, considering he's going to a combat zone. Think, people. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the mainstream media. Not only did President Trump visit with troops abroad during Christmas time, despite media claims to the contrary, but the troops were happy to see him. Now, I have watched a lot of videos of the troops receiving him and him, interacting with the troops. They all looked delighted, absolutely delighted, all of them. I didn't see anybody, at all that didn't look happy to see him. And it was quite evident that they were thrilled. But, the media is not going to report that. Some service members even had MAGA hats and asked the president to sign them. Trump signing MAGA hats for troops in Iraq, and here is a picture of him doing that, and there's many, many more out there, almost immediately claims of troops being in violation of military rules were tossed around. They were wrong, but that didn't seem to matter. But troops' requests for the autographs could brush up against Department of Defense guidelines for political activities, CNN admonished. Those guidelines say that active duty personnel may not engage in partisan political activities, and all military personnel should avoid the inference that their political activities imply or appear to imply DoD sponsorship, approval, or endorsement of a political candidate, campaign, or cause. And this from Tony Schaefer, under the heading of haters are gonna hate, is this insanity from CNN a blatant and near criminal misrepresentation of the Hatch Act? Troops having and bringing out MAGA hats is completely legal and kind of cool that they had them in Iraq, by the way. Obviously, these were pro-Trump if they've got MAGA hats with them in Iraq, don't you think? These were their own hats. Trump did not bring hats with him to sign and give out. These military members had these with them and asked Trump to sign them. What was he going to do? Say no? And then that would be all over the headlines, right? Oh, Trump refuses simple request to sign hats. It doesn't matter what this guy does, they're going to bash him. I've come to see that. It doesn't matter. I mean, if the guy walked on water, they'd say, well, the headline would be Trump can't swim. It just doesn't matter. So anyway, what CNN left out was the rest of the guidelines, which clearly state that active duty members may, however, express their personal opinions on political candidates and issues, make monetary contributions to a political campaign or organization, and attend political events as a spectator when not in uniform, according to the Daily Wire. Of course, CNN also made sure to throw some Trump bashing in with their attack on the troops allegedly breaking the rules. The panel doing the smearing included White House correspondent Jim Acosta. Well, who else? I mean, did I even have to say that name? When we thought of CNN and bashing, I mean, there's two names that stand out, right? Jim Acosta and Don Lemon. So anyway, Jim Acosta, who perhaps surprisingly somewhat came to Trump's defense. Oh, wow. Okay, well, I wasn't expecting that. When it was implied that he might have provided the hats to the troops, which he did not, by the way. What would the concern be if something like that is going on, do you think? Or is this just, a soldier is there, he's got a hat in his locker, and he runs over and says, hey, when am I going to have another chance for the president to sign one of these? Acosta said, according to Newsbusters. And actually, that's actually surprising that he even rose to that level of defense of the president, to tell you the truth. But anyway, that is what went on. And by the way, when Obama was there, he signed like autographs and things and pictures and whatever, but it's okay if Obama does it. Oh, there he is signing a hat, Obama. No outrage about that, was there? As a candidate and throughout his president, Barack President Barack Obama also signed items for troops, and there are photos to prove it. But of course, that never made the news, did it? Mm-mm. But let's not let a little thing like facts get in the way of the media pushing their Trump derangement syndrome onto whatever viewers they have left to keep the hate and division going. So what if the fake news label continues to be applied to them? They'll just attribute that to Trump too. Using the brave men and women who risk all for us back home to push a hate-filled narrative is pathetic. I agree. Attempting to smear the sitting president by smearing them is not journalism, and it's not okay. I second that. The troops, the president, and for that matter, the American people deserve better than that. And we do. And you know what? We deserve a media that is free, truly free. Oh, we sure do. Absolutely. If you don't have free media, you don't have anything. Because you can't trust anything you're hearing. And we can't. So, let's go back. And, let me see, because I have more of this, and I just wanted to hit on that so that we keep this topic together. Here is this from Lisa Mae Crowley, and it is she retweeted it, actually, and this is from Donald J. Trump. CNN and others within the fake news universe were going wild about my signing MAGA hats for our military in Iraq and Germany. If these brave young people ask me to sign their hat, I will sign. Can you imagine my saying no? We brought or gave no hats, as the fake news first reported. Yeah. And then I think there was, and here is another one, and then we'll go back up and hit on another topic. Okay, and this is from Cat Turd. Excuse me. An interesting name, but they have some interesting tweets. Not just an interesting name, but they do have some interesting tweets. Breaking: U.S. Air Forces Europe said troops holding MAGA hats during President Trump's visit to Ramstein Air Base were not in violation of military rules. There is no rule against airmen bringing personal items to be signed by the president, USAF said in a statement. So there you go. He didn't do anything wrong at all. Of course, you and I already knew that, because if the fake news is making a big deal of it, you can pretty much be sure that there's no deal in it at all. It's not a big deal. So let's look into something else. And I'm sure that you have heard this because it's been splashed all over the news, and then you've got Pelosi, about the 8-year-old that died in custody. The real story of how the 8-year-old died in U.S. custody doesn't fit the media narrative. So let's look at this. Once again, the left is using the tragic death of a child to push a narrative. While a family grieves, the establishment media paints the tragedy as an "I told you so" moment against the U.S. Border Patrol. By proxy, it is all being used to smear President Donald Trump, but the facts, yet again, do not support the narrative being pushed. And here we have the Associated Press. Breaking: U.S. immigration authorities say an 8-year-old boy from Guatemala has died in government custody. It's the second instance this month of an immigrant child dying while being detained. All right. And this from Sheila Jackson Lee. Yeah. Does she really care about children? She wears a pedo ring. I'm thinking she doesn't, but anyway, here she is, being political. What is happening at our southern border? This makes the second death of a young child at our border in as many weeks. This is outrageous. This shocks the conscience. Oh, does she have a conscience? Wow, that should be news. No, that right there, that's news. Wow, didn't know she had a conscience. Of course, I don't believe it. Anyway, let's go down here, if I can. The truth is that 8-year-old Felipe Gomez Alonso had been given a wellness check when he and his father were in the custody of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency. During that time, agents noticed the child was ill, and the child was taken with his father to the hospital, the Daily Caller reported. The child was treated and given prescriptions for amoxicillin and ibuprofen. After further observation, the child was released. Agents provided the child with his medication, but noticed later that the child was vomiting. He complained about nausea as well. At this point, the father refused further medical care for his son and claimed the child had been feeling better, the Daily Caller wrote. And this from Joe Gabriel Simonson, new father of Guatemalan child who died Christmas Day, denied further medical treatment after his son threw up in custody, officials say. Yeah, there's always more to the story, isn't there? Always more to the story that they don't tell you. Why do they leave these things out? Well, we know, don't we? The father might have been afraid or thought it was nothing serious, as some parents might have. Regardless, the child's condition worsened, and when authorities saw that during one of their numerous checks on him, they took him back to the hospital. While in transit, the child lost consciousness and was pronounced dead prior to midnight that evening. We don't yet know why the boy died, much less whom to blame for it. Sometimes what seems fairly mild gets worse very quickly, and sometimes parents and even medical staff are caught by surprise. What we do know is that care was given, and despite that, the boy died. We know that as more and more foreigners are encouraged by the left to come to the U.S. illegally, the understaffed Border Patrol becomes overwhelmed, which can limit how often or quickly they can monitor a given situation. This can make it more difficult to care for those who are in custody, adding to the risk undertaken by those coming here illegally. The problem is not the Border Patrol. The problem is illegal immigration. And I think those of us who are mature know that. But, it's ridiculous. It's like somebody breaking into your house, stealing everything, eating all your food, tripping and falling and breaking their leg and suing you. That's what it's like. And you get blamed. How dare you have an unsafe house? I couldn't even walk around and steal things because I tripped over something and broke my leg, and now you owe me money. Doesn't matter that I stole and that I was there illegally and I was eating all your food and stealing your stuff. That's all right. But I broke my leg, so you owe me. And granted, this is a death, and it's unfortunate. A death of any child is tragic. It's absolutely tragic. But should we blame the Border Patrol who was trying to get the child medical attention? And the father said, no, the child's fine. When the Border Patrol finally saw, look, you know what? This child isn't fine. We're going to take him to the hospital. He died en route. So how is that Border Patrol's problem? That father dragged that child goodness knows how many miles across desert in the heat and unsafe and unsanitary conditions. And it's the Border Patrol's fault? I don't get that. Don't get it. But then the reason why we don't get it is because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It is unacceptable for a child to, and this is from Mayor Bill de Blasio, it is unacceptable for a child to die in the custody of the U.S. government. Anyone and everyone responsible must be held accountable, period. And yes, there should be an investigation, and if there was negligence on the part of any U.S. personnel, then yes, they should be held responsible. But come on. They're pushing a narrative and they don't even really know what happened. If we insist on playing the blame game, perhaps the first finger to be pointed should be at the left for encouraging people to make the dangerous trek to America illegally, sometimes falling victim to traffickers and others who would prey upon them. And that is for sure. All right, now let's go back and see what else we can scare up. All right, another thing that's going to make you shake your head, things that make you go, New EU rulebook advises to avoid the word man and say humankind instead of mankind. Oh, isn't this just a throwback to Trudeau, when the girl stood up and she said something about mankind, and he said, well, we like to call it people kind. And everybody clapped and cheered, and yeah, wasn't that special? I don't think that they should call them manholes. I think that they should call them people holes. Really, I'm offended that they call them manholes. Ridiculous. All right. The members of the European Parliament have just received a new rule book. Officials and MEPs were given their English style guide, a handbook for authors and translators in the European Commission, in which they are given rules for writing, including now a guide for gender neutrality. In other words, what words they can and can't say. They have been asked to refrain from the generic use of man when they speak. Officials and MEPs in the European, and this is from Jonathan Cairns, officials and MEPs in the European Parliament have been sent a guidebook on using gender-neutral language in communications, including avoiding the generic use of man, such as man-made, mankind, and absolute bullocks. According to the rulebook, gender-neutral or gender-inclusive language is more than a matter of political correctness. Language powerfully reflects and influences attitudes, behavior, and perceptions. And that is absolutely 100% true. It does. And that is why, if you read the book 1984, they were so specific about the language and removing certain words out of the language. We're in 1984. Really, if you have not read that book, or if you haven't read it for a very long time, you should do yourself a favor and read it. If you're not a reader and you don't enjoy reading, I believe that you can get it on Audible or, a number of places that, have spoken books. So I think that you would really see a lot of stuff reading it as an adult as opposed to reading it in high school. So anyway, much existing EU legislation is not gender neutral, and the masculine pronouns he, etc. are used generically to include women. However, gender neutral language is nowadays preferred whenever possible. In practice, gender neutral drafting means two things: avoid nouns that appear to assume that a man rather than a woman will perform a particular role. Chairman is the most obvious example. Avoiding gender-specific pronouns for people who may be either male or female. Some more examples of the preferred speech are words such as political leaders is preferred to statesman, artificial or synthetic is preferred to man-made, business person in place of businessman or businesswoman, and tradesperson would be preferred to tradeswoman or tradesman. The rulebook, as described by the EU body, aims to avoid phrasings that could be seen as conveying prejudice, discrimination, degrading remarks, or implying that a certain gender or social gender represents the norm. The purpose of the guidelines is to encourage a non-sexist, inclusive, and fair language, the Secretariat of the European Parliament asserts. Members of the European Parliament reacted to the warnings of using the word man in the gender neutrality rulebook. They called them absolute bollocks. Yeah, I think it's really stupid because, mankind includes woman, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's gotten so twisted now. Black is white, white is black, evil is good, good is evil. Just like the Bible said in the last days. Men will call good evil and evil good. And that is exactly where we're at. All right, well, let's go back. And, yeah, you'll find this interesting. I know you will. Very interesting. Explains a lot. All right. Democratic talking point parroting goes wrong as Pelosi and Schumer publish identical messages. I saw this on Twitter and I had to give my head a big shake because they posted the exact Twitter message word for word. Democrats are finally beginning to learn about consistency, but they're taking it a bit too far by tweeting out the same talking points word for word. Nobody expects Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer or incoming House Majority Leader Nancy Pelosi to write their own tweets because they can hire somebody to write them instead. But top Democrats could at least refrain from plagiarism. On Christmas Eve, Schumer published a tweet attacking President Donald Trump for criticizing the Federal Reserve and seeking a replacement for Secretary of Defense Jim Mattis. It's Christmas Eve and President, real Donald Trump, is plunging the country into chaos. Plunging the country into chaos, really? That's a little bit melodramatic, don't you think? Oh, he's plunging the country into chaos. Anyway, it's Christmas Eve and President Donald Trump is plunging the country into chaos. The stock market is tanking and the president is waging a personal war on the Federal Reserve after he just fired the Secretary of Defense, Schumer wrote. Only 23 minutes later, Pelosi published the exact same tweet on her own account. Yeah, she didn't retweet it. We're not talking that. We're talking she tweeted it as her own. Yeah. Weird. Very weird. And here they are, side by side. They're identical. It's Christmas Eve and President Trump is plunging the country into chaos. It's Christmas Eve. He's plunging the country into chaos. It's exactly the same. Everything is the same, except in Pelosi's, Schumer ended with Secretary of Defense, period. She ended with Secretary of Defense, period. And then hashtag Trump shutdown, which it's not a Trump shutdown. It's a Nancy and Chuck shutdown is what it is. Schumer's tweet came out first, but that doesn't mean Pelosi or her staff copied him word for word. More likely, it's the kind of talking point Democrats keep handy to shoot out on short notice and claim authorship, no matter who wrote it. If nothing else, it shows the Democrats plagiarizing each other. But this bizarre Twitter incident opens up a can of worms about Democratic rhetoric. One cannot help but wonder how much of the left's tweets, speeches, and news releases are manufactured from the same source. I was thinking the same thing. Typically, you would expect politicians to have a great deal of autonomy in their policymaking decisions despite belonging to a political party. For example, the Republican Party has a wide range of opinions and beliefs, as evident from the stark differences between Republican lawmakers like Senator Rand Paul and Senator Lindsey Graham. On the other side of the table, Democrats have been completely united in their opposition to President Donald Trump and their slavish devotion to Democratic identity politics. Considering the left's coordinated attacks on Trump and previous attacks on Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, it wouldn't be surprising at all to find out that Democrats are going off the same scripted talking points. I have wondered about that for quite some time because these are not smart people. Pelosi's not a smart woman. Now, she may have been at one point. Now, I don't know. I haven't followed her for that long. But she may have been, but she's not now. She's mentally declining. And I don't mean that to be mean. It's a fact. As we age, some of us, our mental faculties decline. And I believe, personally, that she's dealing with Alzheimer's. I personally believe that, and I don't think there's anybody that could convince me otherwise. And you look at Maxine Waters, not a smart woman. Again, I don't know. Maybe she was in her younger years. I don't know. But these are not really, they're mental midgets. And that's mean. I really shouldn't talk like that. But anyway, I have wondered that because I thought, okay, these people are not writing this. I know they're not. I know Hillary Clinton is not writing her tweets. There is no way she is. And so, anyway, I could see that. I could see them having these talking points that they could shoot out at a moment's notice, that they can grab from a central source. Because I'm sure that they do have talking points. Okay, well, if somebody asks about this is what you say. I don't know, but it's awfully strange. Democrats become enraged when moderate Democrats like Senator Joe Manchin deviate from the script, but it might be for the best that some Democrats like Pelosi have prepared talking points. When Pelosi attempts to form original thoughts, it doesn't work out very well. It's a bit concerning that Democrats need to use the same talking points to get their ideas across. Lawmakers should be smart enough to think for themselves. And I agree. If you're in politics and you can't come up with your own talking points and your own thoughts, there's something really, really wrong with that. All right. And Ocasio-Cortez comes to mind. I do not believe that woman, those are her points. Although I do think she tries to throw in her own from time to time, and that's where the comedy ensues. You know, she throws in a comedy and immediately hilarity ensues because or a comment rather, and hilarity ensues because it's so ridiculous. But I do think that some of her more, well thought out comments are not coming from her. All right. Now before I get into that might be something for another video. Let me skip that right now and go to this, because I think that this is more critical and something that you probably need to know more. Okay, 5 shocking facts about the Clintons and Haiti you likely don't know. Now, this was actually put out today, so it's fresh. And we like our news fresh, right? Okay, everyone remembers when the Clinton Foundation invaded and capitalized on Haiti after the earthquake of 2010, but not everyone is aware of the nefarious acts that have continued for years since. Below is only a taste of the power and control the Bill and Hillary Clinton duo maintain over Haiti. And make no mistake, their power and connections do not cease with Haiti. 1. Most of you are familiar with the Digicel scandal, but did you know that Dennis O'Brien, owner and CEO of Digicel in Haiti, personally travels every 2 months in his private jet to pick up cash in US dollars that his cellular monopoly is generating? Do you know where that money goes? The Clinton Foundation is given 10%, and several others in connection with this monopoly are thrown some small bones. Well. Bet you didn't hear that before. I hadn't. Number 2, in 2016, 59 dead bodies were found with missing organs in the small town of Tamazu, I'm not sure how that's pronounced, in northern Haiti. It was never reported. Now, I do remember hearing something about that, and then it was dropped, but it was from an alternate news source, so I've never seen anything in the mainstream news, and we probably never will. 3, drug trafficking remains one of the largest problems and biggest moneymakers in Haiti, with drugs running from Colombia to Haiti and straight on through the U.S., along with $3 billion a year in laundered money. Interestingly, some power players we know have interests in Colombia. Could there be any connections? Things that make you go, Though Haiti was a huge producer of rice, producing enough for both consumption and exporting, Bill Clinton had the tariff lowered, established a deal in Haiti to be the seller of rice, then proceeded to import rice from Arkansas. This completely obliterated the rice production in Haiti, as the farmers could no longer sell enough rice. I did not know that either. Number 5, in February 2017, Kenneth H. Merton, U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary, Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs, and previous ambassador to Haiti, along with Omarosa Manigault, were instrumental in leading the delegation of Jovenel Moïse to his installation as president of Haiti. Why was it so important that Jovenel, an alleged money launderer, be installed as president? Good question. Keep an eye out for articles coming out on all these topics, plus a lot more. My source, a native of Haiti, is working diligently with me to get this information out. It is so important that Haiti is not forgotten in the midst of all the destruction perpetrated by the Clinton cartel. Much like the U.S., they have their dirty hands in everything in Haiti as well, and it doesn't stop there. It kind of makes you wonder how that Clinton Foundation investigation is rolling along. It also makes one ponder as to whether the case of retired U.S. Army colonel charged bribing Haiti officials involving Joseph Baptiste will shed some light on their ongoing pay-to-play games. And this is from Freedom Outpost. So I don't know if you follow that website, but it is a good one. And I will keep my eyes open for more information along this lines as well, because I know you guys are interested. So let's go back, because we have another little tidbit here about the Clintons. Or I thought I did. I guess I don't. I thought I did. I was wrong. All right. Maybe it's down here. Oh, maybe not. Okay, well, I'll have to find that because it was good. Anyway, this is also very interesting. You've probably heard this in the news because, of course, CNN is not going to let up. They want to. Okay, New York Times tracks down anti-Trump children of deceased doctor to run uncorroborated Vietnam allegations. Now, in case you don't know what this is about, it has been alleged that Fred Trump paid off a doctor to say that his son, Donald Trump, had, I don't know whether it was something wrong with his feet or something, that he couldn't, be enlisted in Vietnam. And so now that doctor has died, but the New York Times is trying to track down the children of this doctor so that they could corroborate this. Pretty wild. And they hate Trump. So how do you know if they're telling the truth or not? You don't. The New York Times tracked down the daughters of a doctor who has been dead for over a decade to report their claims that their dad helped now President Trump avoid military service during the Vietnam War, despite the paper admitting it couldn't corroborate the story. Well, that never matters to them, does it? Of course not. It would if it was to do with Hillary or any of those guys. But when it comes to Trump, all bets are off. Doesn't matter if it's corroborated. Doesn't matter if it's fake. Report it anyway. In the article, now generating controversy, Times investigative reporter Steve Elder explored a timely diagnosis of bone spurs in his heel that led to his medical exemption from the military during Vietnam. In 1968, diagnosis had long been a subject of scrutiny in Trump's record, with few details publicly available and Trump claiming he doesn't recall the circumstances, but the Times reported that a possible explanation has emerged because Dr. Larry Bronstein, who died in 2007, told his now anti-Trump children about his role. His daughters say their father often told the story of coming to the aid of a young Mr. Trump during the Vietnam War as a favor to his father, Elder wrote. Bronstein's daughters shared the family account for the first time publicly for the Times piece and admitted they don't know whether or not their father actually examined Trump. They said it was a favor to Fred Trump, the father of the current president, who owned the Queens building Bronstein worked out of. No paper evidence has been found to help corroborate the version of events described by the Bronstein family, the Times wrote 9 paragraphs into the piece. Buried 30 paragraphs into the feature, the Times casually mentioned that the daughters, both Democrats, say they are not fans of Mr. Trump. Bronstein's daughters said their father left no medical records with the family, and a doctor who purchased his practice said he was unaware of any documents related to Mr. Trump, the Times continues. Media Research Center Vice President Dan Gaynor called it astonishing that the Times is actively encouraging the family of deceased doctors to give their opinions on private medical records for a hit piece. Oh, there's no limit on how low they will stoop. Unbelievable. And you know what? If I was a man and during the Vietnam War and I had a medical condition that could get me out of going to war, I would have taken it too. I'm just saying, because the Vietnam, well, don't even get me started there. Don't even get me started. Don't. All right. All right, let's go back. Now, we looked at that. Now, here's something else. This is from POTUS Schedule on Twitter, and it says the following. And it says, for immediate release, the president has made clear that any bill to fund the government must adequately fund border security to stop the flow of illegal drugs, criminals, MS-13 gang members, child smugglers, and human traffickers into our communities and protect the American people. The administration understands this crisis and made a reasonable, common-sense solution to Democrats 5 days ago, where we've not received a single response. The president and his team stayed in Washington over Christmas, hoping to negotiate a deal that would stop the dangerous crisis on the border, protect American communities, and reopen the government. The Democrats decided to go home. The only rational conclusion is that the Democrat Party is openly choosing to keep our government closed to protect illegal immigrants rather than the American people. The president does not want the government to remain shut down, but he will not sign a proposal that does not first prioritize our country's safety and security. there you go. And I say, more power to you, President Trump. All right, now this is very interesting indeed. And this was, okay, on Twitter, there is an account, well, there's Santa Claus of the United States, and then there's Mrs. Claus. And this was tweeted by Mrs. Claus. Now, I know some of you do not believe that John F. Kennedy Jr. is alive, and that's fine. I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise. I believe it. Everything that I have looked into and researched is pointing in that direction. Yes, I know it is out there. It's nuts. But I've seen enough evidence. And this is just one more piece. All right. Now, look at this picture. Let me make it bigger. Okay. Now, you'll recognize this as Stormy Daniels. And this is her lawyer, Avenatti. And it says, look here. And pointing up to this guy. And what is he wearing? He's wearing a Tiffany blue skull cap. Looks an awful lot like JFK Jr. And this is what Mrs. Claus tweeted. And it says, truth is behind you. But she's crossed it out and put R. Because JFK Jr. also goes by R anon. So, very interesting. That does look like him, but let's look at a better picture, better resolution, and here is one below without the writing on it. Let's look at this. Sure does look like him to me. Tiffany blue skull cap. Smiling. Just a few feet away from Stormy Daniels. Trolling. That's what I would say. Now, what do you guys think? I think it's odd, and I think it's also odd that it was tweeted by Mrs. Claus. But there you go. So let me know what you guys think of this. I have one more thing here to go over. And let me just click on this. Sorry, you know what? I have to take this because someone's waiting for a ride from the train station. Lynn? What time will you be there? I'm actually recording right now, so I can't talk, but what time do you need me to pick you up?
I'm already home. I just got in.
Okay, let me call you back in a few minutes then.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.
I forgot my phone here in Trinity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay, bye.
I'm so sorry about that. My friend went to Toronto to see her family for Christmas, and she doesn't drive, so she's coming back on the train, and I told her I would pick her up and bring her kitten to her because I'm babysitting her kitten, so I had to take that call. It's extremely rude to do that, and I will never do it again, I promise. All right, so this is another thing about the troops. Now, I want to show you this because I want you to see, if you haven't already, how our president and First Lady was received by the troops. It says, please retweet this for our troops and for at Real Donald Trump so everyone sees this. President Trump and Melania were welcomed in Iraq by our troops on Christmas. The USA chants will bring pure tears to your eyes. What a Christmas moment. All right. Now, let me... So I just wanted to show you that. Also, while I was looking at that picture, it reminded me of something I read that they were criticizing Melania's boots. And I'm thinking, what? I mean, the boots looked appropriate to me. If she'd worn high heels, they would have been screaming about that too. I mean, she can't do anything right either. It's always going to be like this until something major happens to change public opinion. And I hope that is very, very soon. And I know you do as well. Anyway, that is it for this evening. So I'm going to end it there. And I will be back tomorrow. I'm going to keep my eyes open for any Q posts and also keep my eyes open for any interesting news that I think you would enjoy. So that's it for now, and I will talk to you guys real soon. Please stay safe, stay well, stay blessed, and I will see you very, very shortly. Bye. Good night.